Hello again, YouTubers. It's the 17th of July, year 2026, both at Australian Eastern Standard Time / Sydney time, as well as local Peking time. So, first of all, huge thanks and shout out to Final Boss for your kind patronage about a week ago. But sadly, well, due to Patreon's stupid policies pertaining to payouts, they haven't released the money to me yet. Well, according to to the descriptions of their website, it can take up to 7 days for the payout to become available for withdrawal. For withdrawal. So yeah, currently I'm still starving. Though I did have some snacks, but not exactly a proper meal. But nevertheless, since I got some, I kind of got some inspiration, from from playing chess. Hence, I would like to give you guys, some more of my thoughts about life, and how I reckon, or what I reckon it has to do with chess and with one another, and vice versa, blah blah blah. So yeah, well, I beg your pardon for the maybe a bit of a more moderate stuttering, but I hope I stutter less than my previous filming session. So yeah, so here it goes. So first of all, in order to win more in life, perhaps we need to be, sometimes more stupid, as a matter of fact, and in the meantime, that can also mean we need to act bold and reckless in life, since we have a highly limited amount of time, of a certain amount of beg your pardon, a certain amount of a duration of time, which means that the more you think about your next moves, the the more your window of opportunities starts actually closing. And the same applies to chess, to certain, say, critical missions, critical voyages in life, that says the more you the more you try to figure out what works best for you, the more, the further you actually start to deviate, from your true dreams, from your highest potential to to achieve great things. Though this video, though I don't aim to make this video, um, to focus on the studies, or the so-called the disciplines, say, to attain success, to maximize your potential, to win more than others, than your rivals, and blah blah blah. No, no, not at all. On the contrary, it is just that we, as men, we need to win in order to better cope with this shit life, say, and consider the amount, or the numerous kinds of tragedies, of um of horrible things that can happen to us. Well, regardless of your genders, or your socioeconomic statuses, your nationalities, your ethnicities, blah blah blah. Tragedy can basically happen to anyone, even to nobles, to the slave masters, to kings, to queens, to the royalties, blah blah blah. You name them. Say say, even like I said before, even if you happened to be born in a royal family, you are still, you can still get involuntarily involved in fights, internal conflicts within your family, among the heirs, those that have the those that are entitled to inherit either the throne, or the royal estates or properties, and blah blah blah. And not to mention the coup 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 d'etat, coups, coups that, and civil wars, and blah blah blah, or also proxy wars, which happen quite frequently in the recent years. Though I won't get though I won't dive into too much specifics, say, the current ongoing war, um, you know in Eastern Europe, in the Middle East, blah blah blah. They are pretty much all proxy wars. Proxy wars that says, say, a group, or an organization, or an entity of smaller scale or level of power, fights, for for a more powerful one, in exchange for some benefits, say money, or a certain membership into their inner circles, say. a certain country wishes to join the NATO or the European Union, blah blah blah, you know. So yeah, but yeah, I get a bit of sidetracked. But just so you know that, you know, sometimes, if not more often than not, we just need to get a bit stupid in order to win more in life, and hence better enjoy life, you know. So quote unquote. um, what else? So yeah, as you can see, from the outcome, from the layout of this game, of this chessboard, I got pretty much, quite pinned in, in this game. Though yes, there were, some occasions, in which, I got pretty even with my opponent during the game. But overall, I wasn't in a, in a good, um, I wasn't in a promising position, as you can see, and I run short on time. Maybe yes, about yes 36 seconds behind my opponent, and yet I still won. I still won the game. Be most likely because I just took some risks, took some chances, and made some bold sacrifices in the game, and then somehow I won. I seized an opportunity, to checkmate my opponent using only a bishop and a rook. Yeah. So 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 I guess, like I said, the more you hesitate, the more you spend time on planning, on trying to, on trying to say optimize your plans of actions. The further you can actually deviate from your goal, from your mission objectives. So just don't ask for for permission from others, so long as the damage is reversible and mild, or just moderate and reversible. Since people love to wield power over you by saying no to you. So and as Far From Weak has pointed out, it takes a great, a lot more say strength to to stop a running train than a train that is about to get moving. So yeah, so get moving, get your sorry asses moving, and start taking actions instead of spending too much time planning and trying to figure out the best plan. The so-called best plan, the optimal the optimal circumstance, or the optimal condition to execute almost always never comes. So start acting, so long as you can reverse the damage, and so long as the damage is mild to moderate at its worst, in worst case scenario. And yeah, and get rid of the habit of asking permission so frequently from others. Um, um, yeah. So just act bold, act a little bit more bold, act a little bit more stupid. Don't try to, try to appear try to don't try to make yourself appear like some sort of scholar, some sort of prestigious intellectuals, or say, or researchers, scientists, blah blah blah. Just get rid of, throw that idea into the bin. Flush that shite down the freaking toilet. And you know let your say let your timid self off the hook. um yeah, just do it. Do it, so long as you have the so long as you have the the minimum in is the minimum level of essential preparations and prerequisites in place, and don't wait for the so-called optimal timing or circumstance, or the optimal configuration of conditions for you to start taking actions. Yeah, so I guess I have talked quite enough, nearly 20 minutes. I noticed a bit of a pattern. The some I guess longer videos don't tend to get recommended by the harlot algorithm of YouTube. So I guess I should, from now on, try to try to be concise, and like I said, as I said, think a bit less, plan a bit less, and but instead do more. And that, I guess, the same, or at least highly similar principles also apply to how to manage, if not completely neutralize, my stuttering. I guess stuttering can originate from such a notoriously habitual pattern of overthinking and over planning, and thus you can consider it a form of some sort of OCD or anxiety, blah blah blah. But in any regards, if you have made thus far in this video, thank you so much for watching, and of course, thank you so much for your generous patronage and support and subscription to my channel thus far, and feel proud of yourself a bit more. Give yourself some more credits, in case you don't. Yeah, so in case I don't starve to death or get persecuted to death by that wicked banshee slash that wicked woman. And if God's still willing, see you around on YouTube. Stay out of trouble and stay far from weak. Bye. Until next time. Cheers. Thank you very much for watching and listening.